Best Book Bits podcast brings you Graham Eisner, one of the world's leading experts in referrals and the author of the book Just Ask 7 Steps to Unlock the Power of Clients, Generate Referrals, and Double Your Business. Graham, thanks for being on the show.
Brilliant. Mike, good to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Now, take us back to starting with Goldman Sachs back in the 1990 as a private client relationship manager, developing a methodology for referrals from clients, internal partners, and intermediaries that made you one of the most successful sales professionals. Can you talk a little bit about your story there and how it unfolded?
Sure. So for me, it was always about where was the easiest client to find. And from existing clients, what I knew is that within Goldman Sachs themselves, there were so many partners that had great personal relationships or through their business lines knew very prominent people. So for me, I basically got to know as many of them as I could. And they were like my best client because I needed to get their trust in the same way I got the trust of a client in order to introduce me to a friend or someone there that they knew for business. So that was something I did extensively there. And also in order to build the business within private clients, I was always looking for that intermediary that had a similar client base. So for me in private clients, that was the lawyer or accountant or trustee, and getting to know them, but also being very, very focused. Often we can try and meet as many people as we can, have lunches, etc., and talk about lots of things. But I always tried to be very, very focused and drill it down to how can I help them? How can I be entrepreneurial for them in order to try and find them business and think laterally for them, and in order to build our relationship and then obviously receive a referral from that side.
Yeah, makes sense. So is that how it all started for you? Obviously getting thrown into the deep end and saying, go find clients, or, being a private client relationship manager, was that the sort of the role at Goldman? Was that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. My role was, I had the Goldman card behind me, which was fantastic to get out there and find clients. And I just knew it was about just thinking as laterally as I could, using the resources that I had at my disposal to try and build that client base. And where was the easiest client I could find?
And how did that unfold? Then you became a trainee yourself within the company. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, so you start as a trainee for a couple of years, and then you move into the private client area, and then you're basically out there trying to build your business. And it has evolved since then when I was doing it, but that was how it worked in those times.
And then you started your own consultancy. Is that right? Focusing on wealth advisory sector and other professional service industries. You train and mentor salespeople and teams how to increase referrals.
Exactly. So basically, I left Goldman Sachs, but actually in the last 3 years there, I did also run the training program, which evolved all my skills around sort of mentoring and training, etc. And then when I left, I set up my own firm, which was to really help in this particular area of finding clients, because that's my strength, and that was really to be as defined as possible. Hence, in the private client area or in other professional services, where it was quite obvious that there were so many great referral opportunities, but perhaps people didn't use them, didn't look for them, and then working with other entrepreneurs or sales teams in other industries.
And talk a little bit about the book. When did it come out, and what was the motivation for writing it? Was it just a point going, I've done all this work and all decades of experience and with referrals, let me sort of now put it into a book? Was that sort of the reason?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, this is the main thing I focused on. So I've picked up, a lot of ideas, a lot of mindsets that held people back, and really seen the evolution of really some great salespeople and people that maybe are not such great salespeople, but really on both sides, no one really using referrals. And it was clear to me that the world out there can take advantage of this subject. So I just needed to put it into a book, which took a couple of years, but also with the recognition that it wasn't just for the professional services world. I mean, really, this is for anyone who has a selection of clients that should be asking for referrals from those clients. It's not necessarily on the digital side. It is people that know people, that meet people face to face, but everyone can increase their business, from a one-man band right up to 5 salespeople to a team of 20 to a team of 100 or 1,000. And hence, put it together in a book, and I'm quite excited about, the outcome is good.
Yeah, let's deep dive into it. I read the book recently and it's fantastic. So for people out there saying, what's the book? Well, it's called Just Ask, 7 Simple Steps to Unlock the Power of Clients, Generate Referrals and Double Your Business. The biggest motto of the book is if you don't ask, you don't get, which is, it's crazy. In the book, some of the notes I took was, client referrals provide numerous advantages over other methods for generating business. They're low effort, yet high financial reward for you and your business. It's a high hit ratio, lower anxiety, and faster results as well. Can you talk a little bit about how it starts with, why should we ask in sort of part 1? Don't hold back, and why ask?
Sure. So there's a lot of anxiety about get business from everyone, from salespeople, from managers, from leaders. And what I view is that right in front of you are just so many great opportunities. It's virtually like taking a deep breath, being calm, and recognizing that right in front of all of us, we have so many opportunities, and we just need to have the confidence that we can actually bring in business from those clients or from those other areas. And so for me, the first part, and why use referrals, is that a lot of people will go and spend a lot of money on trying to bring in new business. They might go and buy other salespeople. They might even buy a company to bring in a lot of new potential clients. They might go and spend a lot of money on advertising. They'll obviously increase everything on social media. They'll take out for dinners and they'll lunch and they'll dine and they'll spend hours on trying to get to know a bunch of new people. But as I say, really in front of you are just so many great opportunities. And as you mentioned, what are the advantages of that? Once you start bringing in a referral culture into your business, it's a networking effect. If I ask someone for a referral, they know that's how I build my business, by asking for a referral. And of course, the person that comes in knows that's how I bring my business in. So it's just an extension of that. By asking for referrals, it's a much quicker procedure to close a client because there's already a warm introduction. So you get past all that initial part of trying to close a client. It's quicker. There's less pricing pressure on your business when you're getting in a referral, and it's much more enjoyable for you because you can really see clearly where your new clients are going to come from if you're methodical about it and clear about it and how you actually approach it. So it's just a fantastic way to build your business, and it's right there for everyone to take advantage of if we feel confident. And I also truly recognize why people don't do it. It's not, it isn't. There is a secret to it, a sort of secret thing that people aren't using, but I do understand why. I can go into that a little bit if you'd like.
Yeah, please. Yeah, do.
So for people, it feels like it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation to have. They're knowing this client. It feels like they're taking something from a client. They feel, they've got a relationship. The relationship's supposed to be about the client, and now they're taking something back from the client. That can feel uncomfortable. There are sort of psychological issues that might be coming into our own minds about why we don't want to ask. We just ourselves don't feel. We feel it's intimidating or it's impinging on a client. So therefore, we don't want to go there. We even forget to ask if even we plan to ask, or we've got so many reasons in our head that will be holding us back from asking.
Yeah, it makes sense. Some of the notes I took from that was you talked about sort of a culture first, and it does start from the top. So if you're working in an organisation that champions referrals and actually encourages that and helps you set up the systems and methodologies to actually do that, then obviously that's going to be a main part of their business. But if you work in a culture that doesn't really champion that and sort of goes, oh, go do it by yourself or whatever, you're not going to be sort of motivated as much as depending working on that culture. One of the great quotes he put in the book is about Mark Zuckerberg, which we know is the CEO of Facebook. He said, people influence people. Nothing influences people more than a recommendation from a trusted friend. A trusted referral influences people more than the best broadcast message. A trusted referral is the holy grail of advertising. What do you have to say about that, Graham?
I just think it's so true. It's right. It's a heartfelt comment, and we've all experienced it. If someone recommends someone to you, you're right there on accepting, on listening. If you respect that person, and that's the way it happens. And it is quite a simple philosophy, but we have to have the confidence to be able to do it. And that, I know takes some time. But if we get into the sort of mold of feeling we can ask, we'll get on that train.
Yeah. Let's go back to your when you started with Goldman as well. So one of your emphasis was to bring in very wealthy people as clients, and your focus was always on the easiest and most powerful way to find a new prospect and where referrals came from. Can you talk about sort of that experience as well, and what you did those early stages to go out there and bring in new business through referrals?
Yeah, so some of it I was referring to it in terms of where's the easiest place. And so as I said, I mean, I know that internal partners, new people, and so for example, the head of Europe was new. Came to start at Goldman Sachs, very, very senior position, and within 2 days I knocked on his door because quite frankly, of course he knew a lot of people, but of course he also needed to know and be educated and learn about our area. So I took it upon myself to introduce the area, also to bring up the head of our area, to introduce it in as professional a way as we could, that gains the trust. Because when someone's going to introduce a friend, they have to feel very, very comfortable. It doesn't matter who they are. And even though they represent the firm, we need to do that in that way. So that was always my philosophy. And to be honest, that's always my philosophy in any way that I then tried to get a client from someone. It was to be as professional as possible, and also to ensure that I could help them in some way as well. So that was sort of one route to, as I said, to really approach many senior people. And of course, it was asking existing clients for referrals, which is something that I just did and then have trained on, and then approaching as many intermediaries that I could, and getting to know other internal people within Goldman Sachs who could help us.
Yeah, it's great breakdown as well, and it all comes back to having the idea to ask and doing it from a professional point of view, but also having a methodology behind it as well, like a method to the madness. You don't just go out there and ask people, hey, would you refer business to me? No, it's a systematic breakdown, which we'll go through it in the chapters. Chapter 3 also talk about why people don't ask, and we sort of touched on that before with anxiety. I like the quote you put in there about the importance of for what you want is summed up by Nora Roberts, who's an author of more than 220 novels. She wrote, if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no. If you don't step forward, you're always in the same place. You also talk about salespeople only ask for referrals from 20% of their clients, when in fact 60% of their clients would actually be happy to offer them as well. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly that. I mean, most people, if you had 100 salespeople in front of you, most people are not really asking for referrals. If they do, they definitely are only asking for around 20% of their clients, and they'll give you many reasons why they're not asking for more. So that figure of 60% of clients want to help you, they really do want to help you. It's just in our head that we think they don't. There are so many reasons why we think they don't. We just make so much up about what the client is thinking. So really, they want to help, and we know that. The world is about helping each other. We do want to help, and plus, all those people, all those clients, all those suppliers, all those intermediaries, they're people out there building their businesses as well, and they've also asked. So it's it's a statistic, but it's really true.
Yeah, some of the reasons you put down in the book why people don't ask, and you talk about the subconscious fear of rejection. We forget to ask. Mindsets that stop us asking, and overcoming negative mindsets as well, and then also mindsets that are holding us back from asking for referrals as well. Do you want to expand on any of those?
Yeah. So this is the first major block. If people could just get past this block and realize that none of them need to hold them back, and that's what I like to do when I'm sort of training people, I really say, all right, let's first of all think concisely. Let's think of your top possible referral opportunities, or your top 20 clients, or your top 7 intermediary people, and let's think of what is the reason that you might put down that's holding you back from asking. So that might mean something like, well, I think they'll give me a referral, or it feels a bit too salesy. It feels a bit too pushy. I don't think they really know anyone, or I haven't known them long enough in this relationship, or I know this person. I know they know so many people that I just wouldn't know where to start. I'm too young, or they're not connected. They're too old. They're not entrepreneurial. The reasons are very large, and for all those, they're not really they don't have to be the case. So, for example, Is it salesy? Well, it depends how one asks. It's not salesy because it's very, very professional. This person is appreciating, enjoying the services and products of your firm, and for them, it's a privilege to be asked to then give the opportunity to someone else to also enjoy what they're enjoying. That can be a very nice privilege to have. It's an uncomfortable conversation to have. Well, how much of that uncomfort is really coming from you and what's inside you and what you're projecting on what you think is uncomfortable? Is it really uncomfortable for the client? We're making that up. They will give us a referral. Well, have they given you a referral? And what is the evidence of that? We can be waiting for that perfect moment. Does that perfect moment ever really exist? We could think that the mindset is, but the relationship isn't happening so well at this point. But we all know that a relationship is based on the history of that relationship, and the last month or 2 months where something might have happened really isn't so important. So we need to, expand our mind and think holistically and larger about the situation, and recognize that actually that client is happy with the relationship, and it doesn't matter what's been going on the last month to hold us back for asking for a referral. We can often be thinking what the client is thinking and why the client may not want to give us a referral. But we're making so much up in our mind, and so much of that is both conscious making it up, and also it's coming from the subconscious. Some of our insecurities are coming up and they hold us back from asking. So multiple mindsets, but really none of them need to be holding you back. Perhaps the only couple that would be if there's something very bad that's gone on with the relationship in the last month, something that just, they're angry. Okay, fair enough. That's not the moment to ask. Or perhaps if you've really just known them for a week. But, another one might be someone will say, I haven't known them for very long. And then I really would challenge that. I say, well, how long is not knowing them for very long? Because I could have known someone for a month, but I could have met them 6 times. I could have been out with them. Ultimately, trust is developed very quickly, and in terms of them appreciating and understanding the quality of your firm and what it does, that can also happen very quickly. So there are so many different parameters to it. To generalize against a whole selection of clients and make assumptions doesn't make any sense. But if we, what I like to suggest is really take every person very individually, really thoughtfully about each individual client. Where does that person sit? How long have I known this person? What's our relationship? What do they think of the firm? What have they appreciated of the USPs, of the values of my firm and of me, of our interactions? Where is that particular relationship in the right moment to possibly ask for a referral? And they're all so different. And ultimately, the conclusion would be, actually, I can ask everyone. And then it's about asking in a way that is professional, and it doesn't need to come across as salesy or pushy or in any way at all. It can be really, really professional.
Yeah, one of the segues to that, where you talk about in the book, I'm a massive data person and love spreadsheets. You talk about creating a worksheet and create a prioritized client referral list. I think we all should do that as well, and I'll just go through some of the steps. You talk about client. Number 1, you should put clients who trust and like you the most, and then number 2, most valuable clients in terms of revenue, so the people bringing you actually revenue. Number 3, clients with the most potential regardless of revenue as well. And then 4, clients who have referred a prospect to you before. And then 5, clients whom you know are networked and are very well connected. We'll touch on that again. And then last, number 6, clients who for some reason have benefited from your firm's resources, values, and USPs as well. So talk about the importance of putting together sort of a worksheet of a client referral list.
So I think if people are going to take referrals seriously, which I really hope everyone does, I think it's to go into a room and map out all the people that you know. And one can start with clients. So let's just start with clients, and then we look at some of those categories. And what I'm helping people, or hoping people will do, is to start thinking a little, deeply about those clients and seeing where they fit in. That someone trusting you and liking you, we know that. We know those ones who do that, and we know that they will be receptive to helping you. So that's a really big and fundamental one. And if we've got a whole list of clients there, it doesn't have to take very long to just put the list in there. That could be 5, 10, 20, 30, depending on how big your client list is. Now, of course, what you also want with a referral is you want a high quality referral. And we'll come on to that later of, I think, how we get that. But we do want a high quality referral. And of course, we would like a client that replicates the quality of an initial client. So therefore, when I put the, high revenue one, well, it would be great to get another one with a high revenue or a potential of a high revenue. So I'm trying to get people to just create a matrix, create some important parameters of clients that would go up the list, where I'm then going to be starting to ask referrals first.
Yeah. Yeah, makes complete sense. Recently, I had an experience of giving a referral myself. Obviously, reading your book this week, it's been a fantastic book. I myself was tuning into Referral FM. So instead of asking for referrals, I was talking to a friend of mine who is building a pool, and he can't get a builder to come out to build the pool because everyone's busy for the next 6 to 12 months. And then in my head, I was like, I spoke to a pool builder 2 months ago, and then I contacted the friend who had the contact of the friend to get his number. I gave him a call. I did a warm introduction and gave that person the details through there. So as the analogy I sort of got from that, was tuning in to referrals and not just asking for them, but giving them out as well, and finding ways that you can add value to other people too. So I think it's really clever that we walk around with that referral sort of mindset through there, and how that's so important as well.
Yeah, because I think that is absolutely a great point, because how can we help other people? I have a chapter in the book which is about how to make the referral as easy as possible for people. And one of those is, well, how can I be helping the client or helping the person I'm going to ask for a referral for their business or for them personally? What is it I could be doing for them that enhances the relationship, solidifies the relationship? So that helps getting the referral. But I think also what you're alluding to is just getting this mindset of giving referrals, asking for referrals, getting the muscles going. We all know that just by getting muscles going, we start to do these things more, and it just becomes more natural. So, yeah. Great point.
That's great. Moving on in the next chapter, you talk about making it easier to ask for referrals. And I'll just go through some of the steps. So I like these little images. Number one is manage your time effectively, which is number one. Number two is improve client services. So obviously, if you're managing your time correctly, you're going to have time to be asking for referrals. But number two, improving your client service. So thinking about, hey, if I look after this customer really, really well, I'll have the opportunity to be ask for a referral. Number three, be proud of your USP. So find out what your unique selling points are and champion those points as well. And then number four, practice positive thinking, which we'll jump into too, which is hugely important. And number five is sort of use your buddy as well to help sort of monitor the progress. So yeah, jumping in through there, do you want to add or expand on any of those points?
Yeah. So I think it's really certainly the positive thinking one is a key one, because we do have, in the majority of us, a sort of negative psychology towards asking for referrals. There are just, our minds take over us. That's what's going on in so many minds in so many ways, in personal life and business life. And we can turn that around by giving positive statements to ourselves around referrals, and we can practice those. And I do highlight some, in the book, which people could literally, if you input those into a day and what you'll think about referrals, the answers will become positive, rather than saying something like, "Oh, I just find asking for referrals really difficult." If you change that around to why would referrals be such a positive thing for my business, your mind automatically will give you positive answers rather than taking you down the negative spiral of answers. So they're very simple things to do that can give you the positive psychology. In terms of time management, it's an interesting one, because most people are really busy and they're just always frantic and trying to accomplish so much. And depending on what business you're in or what industry you're in, you're often just feeling overwhelmed with, maybe it's paperwork or organizing clients or many, many things. But if we can view referrals being a really important thing, and if we can look at our business and look at how we organize our time and try and manufacture that to save time, to be clever with what we're doing, to maybe it's contracting out, maybe it's identifying what my role is within the team, but really saving myself 10% of my time, and then I'm allocating that to referrals and being quite firm about when I'm going to think about referrals and start carrying that out and executing it. That will start to really help you. And of course, managing the client relationship in the best way possible that it helps you when you do ask for a referral. We're all trying to make our relationships as well as we can. I mean, that's a natural thing. But if I think of it from a referral point of view and I've identified and highlighted this number of people I'd really like to approach, then I think it's about sitting back and all right, what could I do with this client that could actually make this relationship better? What really could I focus on? Am I delivering as much of the resources? What is it that I'm lacking? What could make it? And that all these things don't need to take very long. I could work that out in 10 or 15 minutes if I really thought about it. Maybe I do brainstorm with someone else, the buddy that I'm working with. And then that part about having a buddy in all this is that, a buddy helps you to think about these scenarios, laterally think, challenge, explore, keep you accountable, help you to work through not only making the referral priority list, but later on, we'll talk about actually executing and following it up and helping you decide and decipher, have you actually done what you said you were going to do?
Yeah, the buddy system it's really important as well, and I'll give you a couple stories. So I had a buddy of mine that we used to work back in my sales career. We used to buddy up and do follow-up calls. So I would call his clients, he would call my clients to follow up as a different representative in the company to get, I think, to get the correct answer from the client of what we were seeking. So sometimes a client might fluff you around, but they will give honest, they'll tell you if they're going to purchase or where they're at with another person from the organisation as well. So we used to buddy up in that sense and do some follow-ups. Probably a decade ago, I used to send out hundreds of letters a month, personal letters to clients as well, for asking for referrals, but also to find out where they're at in their current business as well. So yeah, just systematically making time to invest in the future with your client base is absolutely huge. And a lot of these clients were actually previous clients from other people who left the organization. So that's also important as well. And following up, what they're called orphan customers in certain industries as well, which is a massive client base. But yeah, moving on. Also, you talk about, obviously we touched on the values and the USPs of your firm, talking about what sort of sets your firm apart, but you can also talk about, hey, what sets me apart inside my firm or inside my industry and sector? What makes me different as well, and how can I serve the customer at a higher level? Is there anything you want to add on that about how you can set yourself apart in your organisation or industry?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. Whenever I gave sort of workshop training around this subject of values or USPs, if I'm honest, often people don't actually fully know what the values and USPs of their company are, not in a very clear and direct way. And it's super important because ultimately, if we really feel the values and the USPs, the history, what sets us out from the marketplace, and we really appreciate them, that obviously increases our level of pride in the business that we're working with. And when we actually ask for that referral, it becomes much more from the heart. Because as I said earlier, if I really feel very valued with the company that I'm with, this other person who's going to get referred, they should introduce this person because it is a real privilege to work with us. And in terms of your point of feeling the value of yourself within the business, yeah, I think that's super important as well. Sort of recognizing how you can set yourself apart and offer your clients a very excellent service in the ways that work for you, and you'll know that. And it's very important to define that within yourself to give yourself that confidence.
Yeah, makes sense. And let's say you've got the referral now. So what do you do now in terms of holding the hand of the client who's sort of given you the referral? Once you've been given the referral, how do you make the client feel comfortable about the process?
Yeah, so that's something that I also would like to do in the process of before I've even got the referral is just question how this person would like to be kept up with the situation. Obviously it's most likely confidential what's going to happen with this new referred client, so we're not breaking any confidentiality. But it's very important that if a conversation with this new referred client, maybe there's something that doesn't go as well, that can happen. Again, addressed very professionally, but I would also want to be keeping note up with the person that made the referral. If I was given a referral, I absolutely immediately would be thanking the person that gave me the referral, and I would, between them both, establish what would be useful for one to know about the other in obviously a confidential way. And quite often it's nothing. They often just go, no, it's a pleasure I gave you that referral. Don't worry, you just go ahead and work with that client, with my friend, with my colleague in the way that you would as normal, and we don't need to have anything. But I think exploring it, just getting it out on the cable is an important thing.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to chapter 5, you talk about improving your confidence, and a lot of people don't realize that, the body language we use when asking referrals can be overlooked as well. Can you expand and touch on sort of, body language, improving your confidence and helping yourself sort of, lowering stress and, smiling and breathing, helping all those things. Yeah. What are some tips and tricks we can do to improve our confidence?
So the first thing I would say is about how we choreograph a meeting. So often people go into a meeting without actually thinking about how that meeting is going to go. Where am I going to sit? Where are they going to sit? What do I want to achieve in that meeting? And how much time do I have? And who's coming to that meeting? And where do I want to be in that meeting after 50 minutes, after half an hour? Have I asked how long that meeting is? Because if I'm planning to ask for a referral in a calm and a way that comes naturally in the meeting, I need to be knowing what I'm trying to achieve in that meeting, what has been achieved, and when I can be asking for that referral. So that's a really important part before I've even walked in. And now let's assume that's going to have helped my anxiety in my meeting and help me to get over the negative mind that's going to be going, I haven't got time to ask for this referral, or I need to cover this. But if I've planned that meeting really strategically and cleverly, I have time. And asking for referral only takes about a couple of minutes. When I'm going to ask for a referral, I often like to suggest it shouldn't be at the end of the meeting, because that feels like it's kind of just taking something from a client. I like it to either be around 75% of the meeting, or there will just be a very perfect time to ask. Maybe they've suddenly talked about how well it's been working with us, or the feedback's been really good. Maybe there's a perfect time, or maybe I need to engineer it. And to be fair, I recognize that this is something, because it hasn't been done by people before. Maybe it feels like this is just a bit uncomfortable. When am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? So this is where I would suggest, if we do all the bits before it, we've made the client relationship as strong as it can be. I've really thought out how I'm going to ask, who I'm going to ask them possibly for, and I know roughly when I do it, I can be much calmer. And then when I actually ask for the referral, if I am feeling a bit anxious, that's no problem at all. We can help that by just bringing ourselves back to being present in that meeting. It could be some internal breaths. It could be tapping your feet. It could be tapping your hands or touching your ear, or something which is going to bring you back in the present moment. Nothing the client needs to see, but that can help. And then, as I'm asking, it's also important in terms of the position. I don't want to be asking just sort of leaning forward. I want to come across with that professional, sitting upright, looking at them in the eye. And when I'm asking, it's not looking left or right. It's looking at the eye, softly, professionally, feeling that pride in my business, in my company, in what I'm asking. And that will come across in your body language.
Yeah, thank you for unpacking that. It makes complete sense. Let's jump into the mechanics of sort of how to ask for referrals. You talk about a 7-step plan, and I'll go through some of the steps first, and then we can unpack each step. So number 1, you talk about doing your homework, okay? We're going to talk about number 2, which is finding that bridge line. And then number 3, ask for only one name. Okay. Number 4, you qualify the referral. 5, listen to the client's response. 6, prepare your client, and then 7, follow up effectively as well. Let's talk about sort of number 1, doing your homework, being by preparation for the referral. You're asking you to think about sort of the perfect referral as well. Can you expand on sort of doing the homework first?
Yeah, so for each client, we've had a relationship with them. We know we might have spoken about a perfect referral in a meeting before, or we know what they do and how they do it. Maybe they're on another board of other businesses, or maybe they're in a charity, or by looking a little bit at LinkedIn or their history, we just see who maybe the perfect client would be. So that's, it's 5 or 10 minutes work to think about and to look at it, and we find that perfect client. So that would be the first place to start.
And number 2, finding the bridge line. What is the bridge line, and sort of how do we find it?
So what I don't suggest is just that we just say, is there someone that you could help introduce me to? What I think is really important is to warm someone up, is to help them realize and recognize where the relationships come from, the depth of the relationship. The client's mind is also quite sort of succinct at that moment, and we want to open that mind up for them to realize where it's come from. So some of those routes which I suggest to act as a bridge line, which acts as a first part to asking for referral, might be asking for feedback from the the whole relationship, not just the last month, the holistic relationship since we started, the feedback, the service, the trust, what sort of things we've been doing together. One would expand that depending on the industry you're in. And then the response to that, which we think will be positive, then is very, very natural to go, well, that's exactly, I'm glad you said that. I was thinking that. I'd love to ask your help on one thing. So it's a natural way to ask for a referral after that. Or it could be talking about the history of the relationship, where I could talk about where that relationship started, what the parameters were to develop that relationship, what we were aiming for 3 years, 5 years, 1 year, whenever it was again, and where we are today. And then turn it over to the client, who would very likely agree with that and act positively. And that's it's been a very deep relationship we've had, and it does let me ask you. I'd love to ask you what your help on one thing. So again, it leads very nicely into that. Or it could be referring to the USPs or values that we know that they've appreciated with this relationship, and highlighting some of them. And this is some of the preparation that comes first. What is it this client's really appreciated, of which it could be many, and alluding to some of those. And then again, using that as a way in, which is, I'd love to ask your help on one thing. Or it could be about the fact that there's some spare capacity in the business now. And what we've decided to do is just ask some of our most favored clients, the ones that we feel we're very close to. We'd love to ask their help on one thing. I'd love to ask that help on one thing for you today, if I could, Michael. So we find a bridge line that then introduces naturally and professionally asking for referral.
And I like how you use the word one, because the next step, number 3, is to ask about sort of asking for only one name instead of saying, do you have a list or do you know people? You're literally just saying, hey, just one thing. Do you know one person? And they might give you one, and they might say, hey, I've got 3. But if you're just asking for one, at least then they're tuning into who's that one person I know right now or very soon that would be interested in your product or service or company as well. So yeah, step 3 is asking for one. And then moving on to step 4, qualifying the referral. How would you qualify the referral? What are the steps to do that?
So I suppose in a way 3 and 4 go together. So I'm going to ask for one, and exactly as you said, it's much easier for a client to think about one name. But then I really want to get a great referral. So that's where I need to qualify it. I need to be brave, and I really need to ask what exactly I'm looking for. So it depends obviously which industry you're in, but you'll know what that right client is. And a lot of this is about being brave. We're being brave the whole time, even starting to ask for referrals, being brave. And now we're getting even a little bit braver because we want to get a great referral. So I'm going to be really specific, and that client's happy for you to be specific. It's much easier just to go, is there one person? But it's actually much better to just go a little bit deeper and say exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you think about it this way, there's so many organizations and companies where a cold lead might come through, but imagine that lead came to you warmly. And this is the whole idea. We want to get to the client before the client calls that company, that service, or reaches out to someone else in their network and say, hey, do you know someone in XY industry that can help me out? So you're actually losing business to other great salespeople who have a great referral network and actually champion referrals versus yourself, who might not have planted the seed in that network, or later on you find out that someone else has been giving clients to someone else just because they didn't think that you were in the position to receive referrals. So again, it's putting yourself out there of not just asking for referrals, but constantly giving business to your network as well. I just wanted to jump on that a little bit. Anyway, jumping back to step number 5, you talk about listening to the client's responses. How important is to listen to understand where that client's at?
So it's really important, because that client has just been asked, and they're going to probably say a couple of things. Or either going to say, yeah, Michael, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to help you on that. Let me think about that. Now, that by some people could be seen as a sort of negative, a sort of a fob, but really it doesn't have to be seen that way. That's just what's going on in your mind. So my response to that would be, no, absolutely, Michael. Well, look, really appreciate it. Thanks very much. Think about it. I've got to come back to you in this meeting, from this meeting in about 10 days about X and Y. Can I ask you then who you've thought of, that one name? That'd be really appreciated. So that's important. Or the other part too, it might be, yeah, you know what, there is someone. Now, you'd be amazed how many people just don't follow that up, but that's the point where we then need to follow it up. So that's brilliant. Would you mind if I ask who you're thinking about, and ask a couple of questions about that person? So that's the listening. It's really important to listen and to respond.
Yeah, and I like what you said about following up. Following up is so important, and a lot of salespeople don't follow up, and I've been guilty of it in the past as well. And we just get into these lazy habits, or when they're ready, they'll come back to me. If they got a referral, they'll give it to me. We assume all these things mentally, but as Peter Drucker says in the book, you've got a great little quote there that strategy is a commodity, execution is an art. We need to be executing our particular art as well. And just a side note, prospects are already 50% sold by the fact that, they've been referred by someone else who trusts us implicitly as well. So really, really great stuff. Following up, which you spoke about. Moving on to sort of chapter 10, you're sort of asking for referrals for intermediaries. So what do you mean? What do you mean by that? So how do we sort of expand the network with intermediaries?
Can I just quickly just give you the step 6 very quickly?
Oh, sorry.
Just because,
of course you can. Yeah.
No. There's a reason for it. Just because this is super important. This is about, I would say 30% of the success of it. So now they want to give me that referral, but now I have to manufacture it. I have to ensure that they're going to actually do it. And I don't want them just to give me a number. I don't want them to give me an email. I don't want them to set up a drink. What I really want to do is I want to call them or meet them and suggest they should introduce that person to me, and say something about the values and USPs they've experienced, and basically set up the fact that they're going to that are actually going to meet me. And one line I like to use there is, what's been really powerful for me is if you could, or what's worked really well for me in the past would be if you could. So that's a really, really important thing. And going back to what you just said about execution, that's the full execution. That's the full circle. I've listened, I've set up the fact, and I've been brave here again. I've manufactured, they are actually going to ask. And then that last one, as you said, was about following up, giving myself that option. If in a week's time they haven't come back, I've said in that meeting, if I haven't heard from you in a week, because I know how busy you are, do you mind if I give you a little nudge to make that referral that you said you would? But going now into your point about intermediaries, so my point is about referrals is that it's coming from so many different places. Yes, it can come from existing clients, but there are so many other people that can give us referrals. There are suppliers that have known us for years. I was in the banking world and private clients, so that meant that lawyers, accountants, and trustees, they have client bases exactly the same as mine. Now, they've got a lot of other people asking for referrals, but what I think is really important is to very, very sort of strict and focused. I only want 3, 4, or 5 relationships, very much focus in and really think about how I can help them, how they can help me. What is it that I need to know more about their firm, about their client base, and if they were in a pitch, what they actually say, what do they need to know about me, really develop that relationship and take it down to asking for a referral. That intermediaries is such a great one to get one from. And then, of course, the other routes where we can get referrals from are internal colleagues. Think about 3 or 4 great internal colleagues we could, family and friends, just identify a few family and friends that might know people. Again, we need to set that up in a specific way to ask for a referral. Ex-colleagues, all these different routes are ways to build into the sort of prioritized referral list about who I'm going to ask for a referral.
Yeah, and expanding on that as well, you talk about in chapter 13, using networking to ask for referrals. So I run networking events, and I love sort of meeting new people as well. But some of the hot tips you're writing there is sort of preparing for the event as well. So focusing on 10 people you really want to meet, which is important, and using LinkedIn to obtain referrals, but also maybe doing some fact-finding missions of people who are going to the networking event there as well. Can you talk a little bit about how one can best prepare for a networking event and obtain some referrals and new business?
Yeah, so look, networking events for many people can be seen as maybe either it's a waste of time or perhaps they use their time as effectively. And I think it's about being really strategic. I even used to get to know the person who was arranging the event to virtually find out who was going, really work out the 5 people I really wanted to meet. And now those people are not just waiting there to meet you. You have to sort of edge up, move into a conversation. What you really want is to be with that person one-on-one, and you don't want to stay on the conversation. You don't want to be looking like you're trying to sell anything. It's just very much giving some line or something that allows you to meet that person for a coffee at a later stage, without trying to sell too much on the spot then. That's my aim, is to try and get 5 meetings from that networking event, being very focused about who I want to meet and prepared about who I want to be and what I'm going to say that's going to lead me to to be able to have a meeting.
Yeah, the whole idea of a networking event is to get those first three things out of the way. You know, the like, meet, and trust. You've met me, hopefully you like me, and let's form a trust and let's have a coffee to expand about sort of what you do for business, what I do, and see if there's any synergy there as well. But let's wrap up the podcast through there as well. The book is amazing. Can you talk about sort of where people can find the book, buy the book, and get in touch with yourself as well, Graham?
Yeah, sure, Mike. So basically, LinkedIn gets me. On my webpage, there's a contact form that would get to me. The book on Amazon, just ask. And it would be a pleasure to meet someone that would be interested in growing referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touch on as well with your consultancy business, is that sort of more B2B businesses, or do you teach people as well? Because I know you've got some free to view short videos and on your methodology as well. But with your consultancy business, is that more speaking gigs with larger corporations? Is that correct?
It is with larger corporations, or it doesn't have to be larger, but I suppose it's with particularly with industries where the client is of high value. I don't have a team because I feel the way I work is very individual. So I'm working with salespeople or teams or entrepreneurs that have high value clients. But of course, as we said, the concept of referrals works for everyone who's got businesses where they've got clients, maybe 10, 20, 50, 100, 200,000. But obviously I'm one person, so that's mainly where I'm working.
Yeah, awesome. For my audience out there, go follow Graham. Go buy the book as well. It is absolute amazing if you're in any business of sales. As I said, you're sitting on a pool of clients that you don't know. So if you nail referrals, you can add an extra 30% to your business in the next 12 months, I believe, if you sort of champion the idea that most of your business is out there, and then you go after and get it and ask for referrals. So Graham, thank you for being a guest on the Best Book Bits podcast, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michael. Brilliant. See you.
All right, no worries.